From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The way the borough's air quality division works is changing after an assembly vote last night.
Mike Fussell was there and has the story.
Change is in the air on how the air will be regulated. The Borough Assembly is moving forward on an ordinance to rework certain parts of the air quality control program. The Carl Castle-sponsored move will make PM 2.5 regulations look a bit different than when originally passed.
Emissions and smoke are what are causing the problem. So the key is that we try to regulate the smoke and not the device per se, because the best wood stove on the market can puke out nasty emissions and smoke if it's not being utilized properly.
Castle's original multi-layered set of rules focused on increasing financial incentives for cleaner heat sources in the wood stove change-out program. It also makes borough-provided heaters meet a stricter 2.0 grams of pollutant per hour standard. Removing the need to disclose out-of-code burners during real estate transactions and redefining the Air Quality Division response jurisdiction were also on the ordinance, but saw some changes.
I do think that it is absolutely appropriate to notify a buyer of the fact that they may have a stove that's not certified and will not be allowed to be burned in a stage 2 or stage 3 alert.
Assemblymember Christopher Quiz commended to require those selling real estate to tell people if their stoves were up to standard, passed 6-1 and rewrote the mayor's proposal. Assemblyman Lance Roberts also successfully changed language related to what types of complaints could be investigated by the Borough Air Quality Control Division. Roberts argued the switch will eliminate issues stemming from automobiles or even people smoking.
Regulating everything is probably going a bit too far. It's more than we can handle. It's also going to be hard to actually do investigation and prove things on things that are mobile like that.
The Castle administration ultimately voiced little concern once the language was reworked several times, saying this would allow the borough to follow up on a third of complaints it couldn't previously. In the end, the ordinance passed 6-1. Reporting, I'm Mike Fussell.
The Greater Fairbanks Community Hospital Foundation today announced that it has signed a letter of intent with Providence Health and Services to pursue a lease agreement under Western Health Connect. Western Health Connect is a secular organization formed to allow Providence to remain Catholic and secular organizations to remain secular. Now, the foundation announced it was parting ways with longtime operator Banner Health on December 17th of last year. The foundation and Providence are negotiating a transition lease to operate under essentially the same terms as the current lease with Banner Health, with the intent to negotiate a multi-year final lease in the future. The agreement would cover operations of Fairbanks Memorial Hospital, Denali Center, and Tanana Valley Clinic. Fairbanks Hospital Foundation Board President Jeff Cook says Providence distinguished itself from all other health systems during a thorough analysis of options.
We were not ready to announce that we were making entering into a letter of intent with Providence in December when we made our announcement, but we've been vetting for several months, if not longer, and looking at hospital operators that were fit into the nonprofit mold and our mold, that were very community oriented and that had a history of operations that matched ours.
Members of the PFD Voter Coalition are celebrating a victory after submitting well over the amount of signatures needed to petition their cause to appear in an upcoming ballot. Doyon and the Tanana Chiefs Conference were among the interior organizations leading the charge to allow eligible Alaskans to register to vote at the same time they sign up for their cut of the permanent fund dividend. More than 42,000 signatures were listed on the petition, which is around 25% more than required. The coalition claims benefits from the change would include cutting government expenses, preventing fraud, and increasing the number of registered voters. The Division of Elections will begin reviewing the petitions and is expected to reach a decision that could put the initiative on the ballot this fall. Tanana Chief Conference representatives say it's possible, but unlikely legislators could adopt the measure earlier without an election.
Alaska Native entities, we just believe that it's so important to get Alaskans registered and going to the polls and voting. Alaska Natives tend to be a disenfranchised population, and we want to increase voting, increase their participation in democracy, as well as all of Alaskans. This will help all of Alaska.
All right, when we come back, Governor Bill Walker is proposing budget cuts for the Department of Transportation for fiscal year 2017. We'll have the details on that.
Also, people across the interior suffer from food insecurity, and we'll give you some different ways to deal with it. Those stories and more when we return. Stay with us.
Welcome back. The Northern Region Department of Transportation and Public Facilities Director traveled across much of the interior this week explaining why multiple maintenance stations could be shut down depending on the lack of funding from the state next year. Reporter Ryan Grimes went to the DOT Birch Lake Maintenance Center meeting last night in Salcha. He has the story.
It hasn't been fun to be a manager at DOT here lately, I'll tell you that.
DOT Northern Region Director David Miller says the lack of funding from the state is likely to continue with Governor Bill Walker's proposed state budget for fiscal year 2017. DOT statewide is already faced with a $34 million reduction in general fund operations this year, with 97 positions to eliminate. Miller says DOT is anticipating an additional $12 million shortfall, with 52 more employees on its chopping block for next year.
There's nothing else left to cut.
10 members of the public attended the DOT briefing at the Salcha Senior Center for the proposed closing of the Birch Lake Maintenance Station, which could occur next year. 5 other maintenance stations would also close or reduce operations elsewhere in the Northern Region. This is only if the proposed cuts to DOT remain after the 2016 state legislative session. Miller says closing the Birch Lake Station would impact road maintenance in the Salcha area.
It's hours difference, it's not days. It probably later in the day, instead of, seeing something in the morning, you probably see something in the afternoon.
Jeff Cook, president of the Harding Lake Association and part-time resident of Salcha, said he appreciated the necessary steps DOT was taking.
People are going to have to realize we're going to have to pony up. We're going to have to pay part of the bill. So when you go down to the legislator and talk about, hey, don't cut my service, talk about the other side of it. We got to be willing to pay for it like we used to.
Salcha resident John Poland, also from Harding Lake, says he is worried about how other public services would be affected next year by the delayed road maintenance.
That's a part of Salcha, and we need them at the lake. We need the fire service at the lake. We need the rescue. Life matters, and when those roads aren't being plowed, life at any time could be affected.
We're not quitting maintenance. We're still going to do the best we can. We're going to do what we've always done. We're going to do the best we can with what we got.
This is Ryan Grimes reporting.
Food insecurity is an issue that affects people across the interior. In this report, we take a closer look at what food insecurity is and different ways to battle it.
Food insecurity is defined as not having physical or economic access to foods you prefer or that meet your dietary needs. The Breadline and Stone Soup Cafe conducted a survey last summer that targeted populations currently housed within 1 mile radius of the cafe.
The reason we focused on a 1 mile radius is because this area is largely deemed as low income and as a food desert. So we got about a 42% rate of food insecurity among those living in the 1 mile radius.
The average occurrence of food insecurity among people in Alaska is 14%. The average occurrence of food insecurity near Stone Soup Cafe in South Fairbanks is 42%. Stone Soup and the Breadline have several ways to combat food insecurity.
3 ways that perhaps we can work to do that. And one of them is a food truck that prepares, that delivers prepared meals. We have meals there that are pay as you go. And if you can afford $10, maybe you pay $10 and you buy somebody else's dinner. So that was a second option. And the third option was a community meal where people just came and they ate and went home. And all of those could work from our kitchen, and it would require changes. And right now we're looking at building business models to see which is most feasible to begin with.
Okay, Joe Cook is up next with a loaded sportscast with everything from UAF hockey to high school sports.
Stay tuned for more with Joe after the break.
Welcome back, Interior Sports fans. Time to get the weekend started right with your local Friday Sportscast. Today, the Alaska Nanooks took on the Northern Michigan Wildcats in Game 1 of their WCHA series. Alaska got the W, 3-2 in overtime over the Wildcats. Aleka Dukovic nailed the game winner on a Nolan Heisman assist at the 3:11 mark of overtime. Heisman's led Alaska with a goal and that helper. Jesse Jenks made 25 saves for the Nooks. Shane Sooth had 2 points for the Cats. Alaska never trailed in a victory, and they will look to sweep Northern Michigan on Saturday in Game 2. Puck drop is 3:07 Alaska time. Now, Thursday night, the Alaska Nanooks had to overcome a sluggish start on the basketball court to win their 6th conference game of the year. Last night on Alaska Airlines court, the Montana State Billings Yellow Jackets stunned the Nanooks early on. Emmanuel Johnson, he scored a game-high 22 points for MSUB. 11 of those points were in the first half as they led 27-26 at the break. But Alaska, they flipped the switch in the second half, outscoring MSUB by 13. Javonte Williams, he led UAF's comeback with 18 points and 7 rebounds. Big Almir Hadjisevich added 15 points and 3 blocks. After shooting 33% in the first half, the Nooks got nice and hot, hitting at a 62% clip in the second half. They won 69-58 and improved to 12-3 overall and 6-1 in the GNAC. Now they have a primetime showdown on Saturday night at home against UAA.
It helped us a lot, to get our mindset right, and we kind of started slow, and I'm not gonna lie, but we think a lot about UAA on Saturday, and this was a good preparation. Tomorrow we need to do a good job, scout them, and prepare for Saturday.
Offensively, we were struggling a lot, but defensively, everything was kind of solid. So, at halftime, coach was telling us that we just need to pick it up offensively and keep the same defense going, and that's what we tried to do.
Now, if I told you the UAF women's basketball team forced 24 turnovers, had 2 players score more than 20 points, and got 12 steals as a team, you figured that would amount to a win, right? Well, unfortunately, that wasn't the case on Thursday night at Northwest Nazarene as the Nanooks fall 74-57. UAF led 6-4 in the first quarter, but the Crusaders went on a 17-4 run, and that was enough. Jaylee Mays led the Nooks with 25 points, and Jordan Wilson, she had 22 for her 15th straight game in double figures, a career best for her. Alaska is now 7-10 overall and 2-5 in the GNAC. They will play at Central Washington on Saturday. Glen Allen's Brianna Gerlach was named Girls Cross Country Alaska Gatorade Player of the Year on Thursday. The junior won 3 straight 1-3A state cross country titles, including last year's championship in 19 minutes and 3 seconds. She's the second Panther in school history to win the award. She also advances to the national competition. Finalists will be announced next week along with the boys cross country state award. And staying on the hardwood, if you will, as we switch to the hardwood, we go to the high school ranks, looking back on the opening night of the Joe T. Classic.
Thursday night at Lathrop High School in the second game of the Joe T. Classic, the North Pole Patriots went up against the Ketchikan Kings. The Kings ruled the court, winning 70-48. Matt Stanley scored 11 of his 19 points in the first quarter. North Pole would cut a 19-point deficit to 8 in the third, led by Craig Ward with 17 points. But Jason James countered with 20 as the Kings get the win. The Lathrop girls cruised to a 56-38 win over South Anchorage in their first game of the tourney. Tyra Doe was in the zone, scoring a game-high 19 points to lead the Meats to victory. She credits Lathrop's practice habits, which put them in a position to get a win.
Going into practice, we knew our defense was solid, so that was just moving on to offense and making sure that we could score. We looked a lot into our post because we've been doing individual shooting and making sure our percentages are up and just staying solid on offense as well as defense.
In the nightcap, the Lathrop boys went up against the South Anchorage Wolverines. This game was as tight as they come. The largest lead of the game was just 6 points. Jeremiah Handy had 17 points for Lathrop, and Duncan Noble led the Mutes with 18 points. He tied the game at 61 in the fourth, but unfortunately, they had no answer for South's Alex Adams. He went crazy for a career-high 38 points. He was the only Wolverine in double figures, and Lathrop falls in a close battle, 69-63.
As soon as I started shooting it today, I was feeling it. The rim looked really big, and I was just taking everything that was open and knocking them down. They made a lot of runs, we made some too, and the key was just to weather the storm every time they got up on us and come back.
The Joe T. Classic tournament continues through Saturday at Lathrop High School. Joe Cook reporting.
After suffering heartbreak in a 6-5 overtime loss on Wednesday, the Lathrop hockey team, they returned the favor on Thursday. The Malamutes, they defeat the Juneau Douglas Crimson Bears 4-3 in overtime. The North Pole Patriots weren't as successful as they lost to Eagle River 5-1. Schuler Davis had 2 goals, while Connor Canterbury added a goal and 3 apples for Eagle River. Cody Frary scored for the Pats in the loss. And we close out the Friday Sportscast with this week's Play of the Week. It doesn't happen too often, but we have a tie of the 2 plays. One comes from the ice as Stasi Skorolski of West Valley shows off some nice moves before scoring a goal against rival Lathrop in a 7-0 win. The other play comes from Monroe basketball. Ryan Brantley, he caught fire for the Rams, hitting 3 3-pointers in a comeback win over Sitka in their second game of the Mount McKinley Bank Classic. Those 2 are this week's plays of the week. To vote for the next POTW, watch for the I-5 Interior Top 5 plays on Mondays during the weekend recap. And that's it for sports tonight. Thanks for watching. Weather is up next, up after the break. And as always, we'll catch you next time.
Welcome back to the weather block on this Friday for you, and we'll take a look at our almanac and current conditions. Recent high, it says -12, but actually it was -9. Little ghost in the machine there. So -9 was the recent high. Recent low, -16, that occurred overnight. Record high set in this date in 1981, 50 degrees. A record low of 64 below in 1934. Sunrise 10:28 a.m., sunset 3:35 p.m., giving us 5 hours and 7 minutes. That is a 6-minute gain over yesterday. Winds east 5 to 15 miles per hour, as usual. Taking a look around the state on this beautiful Friday, we can see Barrow was actually warmer than Fairbanks, 4 below for them. Nome checking in at 18, Bethel 8. In the Anchorage Bowl area, 16, so a little cooler for them down there. In Kodiak, a warm spell, 40 degrees today. On the Panhandle, Juneau 33, Ketchikan 36 degrees. Not bad at all. Let's go ahead and take a look down in the lower 48 and see what we can see for the weekend. Woo, chilly across parts of the northern and plain states as well. Still a storm system sitting over the Pacific Northwest, and now storms moving through the greater Texas area, and the reason why is because of that low jet stream that we'll show you in just a bit. Other than that, chilly conditions in Minneapolis. Used to live there, don't want to be there right now. I'd rather be here with you guys. And then a storm system, of course, up in the upper East Coast as well. Take a look here. See, like I told you, that jet stream is moving down lower, brings in colder air, and of course it mixes with the warm, dry air coming from the south, creating the rain that Texas is currently receiving. Now that's going to move east and affect some of the coast states as well as Florida over the weekend. Let's go ahead and go back up to us and talk about our kids' weather watch. Here's an interesting weather trivia fact for you. In 1852, 1,378 railroad cars were drawn by horse across the frozen, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Susquehanna River to engines waiting in Maryland. Sorry if I butchered that. First time I've seen that. Thanks to Mount McKinley Bank for 50 years of service to the community. And of course, Mike will return Monday and welcome the 3rd grade class from Tickashook Brown Elementary School. Let's take a look at forecasts starting up north. Snow showers for Barrow and Fort Yukon. Barrow 0 degrees, Fort Yukon 4. And Nome will be blowing snow 15 degrees, getting a storm system right off the coast there and smacking right into town. In the interior, 7 for us, a slight warm up. Healy 15 degrees, Delta 15 degrees, partly cloudy for us. Flurries in Delta, mostly clear down there in Healy. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the Panhandle, and the wetness continues through the weekend for Juneau and Ketchikan southeast. Rain showers across the entire region. In the southwest, a mixed bag of weather. Yes, it is. Bethel 11 degrees, Cold Bay 38 expected, and Kodiak 46. High winds and rain in Kodiak, by the way, so if you're traveling down there, be careful. Okay, let's take a look at South Central in the Anchorage Bowl area. They're warming up considerably, 26 degrees for them. Homer 36 and Valdez 27. Mostly sunny in Anchorage, however, and mostly cloudy in Valdez. Okay, let's take a look at overnight. It's going to be another chilly one. 14 below for the overnight low. Partly cloudy conditions, maybe a slight chance of a flurry here or there. No accumulation. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, same thing. Maybe some flurries off and on, but nothing really to get worried about on that. 7 degrees for a high tomorrow. And then taking a look at the outlook, the extended outlook, it's changed from yesterday. We were predicting temperatures, hovering right around 10 above for highs, and then overnight lows maybe -5. Now that has changed by 5 degrees total, so it's actually going to be in the double digits below on the overnights, and then just single digits for highs. That's a bummer. Do you have any outside sports you have to cover?
Yeah, it's got to mention one of my fantasy football league.
Yeah, what is this?
So what happens when you become a champion?
Wow. Maybe we'll do fantasy football next year.
Yeah,
but I
maybe
actually
so.
played it. I don't know. Very good. Plans for the weekend?
You know, I want to hit the Ice Dogs tomorrow. So
Very good. Yeah, that's
Talking
good.
about.
That's what we're seeing. You'll see
Yeah.
him at the game, I'm sure.
Most likely, or
Okay.
Mike
And,
Fussell.
say hi.
And don't forget, there is an outdoor ice rink now open in the Tanana River Complex, or Tanana Lakes Complex down there. They went ahead and put a sheet of ice out there in the lake.
Nice.
Pretty cool. Check it out. That'll wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz on the GOP debate. That's next with Lester Holt.
You can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webster11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.
Good night.